Hey, we're a wimp nation now. War is about bombing cities and killing everybody. Why? Because Hitler taught us that. He bombed cities. And so then we bombed them 10 times as bad and dropped atomic bombs on people. You know, the Japanese at Pearl Harbor, they attacked military targets. I'm not saying that was good, but it was damn military targets and men that signed up to have their jaws blown off, not little kids like that. And all these crimes are going to be brought back on America tenfold. Don't you ever think we're going to escape our karma or the fact that we reap what we sow, what comes around goes around. Man, I am God-fearing. Let me tell you, when you look at the million-plus dead Iraqis, the biggest percentage children, that's nothing. I could show you a charnel house, hours of kids, and then, but nobody gets upset about that. But when the Marines grab a puppy and rip its head off or throw it off a cliff, everybody gets mad because that's a dog. See, humans have been dehumanized. Everybody gets upset about a dog, but the globalists are trying to take that video down everywhere. They can show you violence all over YouTube all day long. But they can show you American citizens jumping out of buildings that are burning. But they will not show you stuff like that because they want you to romanticize these sickening wars. God almighty. And of course, you watch that kid's just been drug in there quickly and they hold him down and get his pulse. And the word is that kid died. Of course, the entire jaw blown away. And you can see him, and then, you know, starting to, going out. And hey, that's the bad guy. We're fighting Al-Qaeda, but they put Al-Qaeda in and gave them the missile systems now so they can now menace the United States. We're run by psychic vampires. We're run by scum. And the America we're all told is so great and good, it wouldn't do anything like this. But again, the liberals love it because it's a black guy doing it. And you know what he told Congress? When Congress said, don't do this war, he said, go to hell, I got the UN. And the liberals kind of went, woo, we're bringing down America. Woo, this is fun. And all these neocon warmongers are praising it. All of them are effeminate men who never went to war. That's what's so weird about this. It's all that blob, that sack of pus, Hillary Clinton, all these murdering, limp-wristed trash. And all these effeminate men who've never been in combat or never been in a war, never did anything, who get off on the power of it. They are the anathema trash. You want to know why I do what I do? Because I realize these are a bunch of child murdering garbage. I mean, hell, they got the TSA groping your daughters and sons and getting off on hiring every pedophile they can. This is evil. This is Hitler. But it doesn't look like Hitler because people think a black guy can't be Hitler. See, you always think of the last tyranny as the way it looked before. Tyranny can come in any shape or color. It's what's in the soul. But this is just a ring-wraith minion person. The point is, he's their front guy, Nobel Peace Prize. Well, you let that image of that little child with their lower mandible and their throat completely blown out. Hours of excruciating pain before the child bled out. You just remember that. You remember those tens of thousands, and they're going all over Libya, killing every black person they find, hacking them up, mass graves everywhere. That's your Al-Qaeda. And the left is like, this is a sacrament. Just like Margaret Sanger said, we got to pose as liberals so we can abort these black people. I mean, it's just the best bite, the cherry on top. And just like we told you 3 years ago in the Obama deception, they sent a so-called black man to Africa with Africana. Now he is going to launch the war to just slaughter Africans and deindustrialize them from the north to the south. And he will be praised and he will be worshipped for it. Because that is what a nation of zombies loves. And you will have your pension funds taken. You will have your jobs taken as well. You will be injected with cancer viruses. Your child will have it worse than that child as they die of cancer from the vaccines you were given and the fluoride. They'll take them years of chemotherapy and vomiting and pain and crying and their hair falling out to die. It'll be even better because, see, Obama and the globalists are vampires, psychic vampires. They like all of this. They enjoy this. This is what feeds them. And see, I can see them. And my job is to just get you to take the blinders off. And they live, it's the opposite. You know, you put the sunglasses on, you see, which is the archetype of the blinders. No, you take the blinders off. All right, we're gonna show you more of the war crimes in the future. Let's go ahead and get to the next article. You notice as we do these evil things, all of our blessings are leaving us. We're reaping what we sow. The dollar plunged, one of its biggest drops ever against the Swiss franc, the Japanese currency as well. And they've now announced that they're going to have derivatives. It turns out I talked to Max Kaiser today, and it wasn't even in Bloomberg, that they are going to raise $5 trillion of taxpayer money to pay off the $100 billion debt of Greece, which most of its derivatives. You heard me, $5 trillion for $100 billion. Greece is just to blame the people. Oh, it's the people in Greece's fault. No, this is the derivative scam set up by the bankers, and the $500 billion number has now grown to $5 trillion, and we're told there's a 50% haircut on bondholders. That's only on certain non-institutional bondholders. The general public will get their bonds cut in value, but the big bankers will get $5 trillion on 100 bill and set up a dictatorship government over the entire system. But again, the establishment doesn't like us in the age of cell phones uploading video of piles of dead kids. And so they're moving to start censoring the internet. And that leads us to our next article, Rogue Websites Banned. The bill has been introduced in the U.S. House. That's from French news agency. AP has it as well. And this is the exact Chinese communist model. They tried to pass this a few years ago in Australia, did a 6-month beta test. They banned hundreds of thousands of sites, dental sites, haircutting sites, you name it, just in the random banning. And again, the kill switch isn't across the board. They want to still pump you the propaganda. It's select sites, and they say no judge, no jury. Somebody in government claims it's evil. Somebody in government claims it's hateful or violates copyright. Kind of like you get put on a no-fly list for no reason. No judge, no jury. It will now be banned if that bill passes. They've already got the power to do this in place. They've already had ICANN come out and say they're going to ban sites at corporate request anytime they ask for it. And, of course, they announced yesterday, Google released, and I talked about the first here, that they are just ordered by the government outside of law. And the government doesn't even mince words. They say, this is critical of the government. Take the video down. I mean, if I even dare, if you're watching on YouTube or other channels right now, we probably are going to cut the little kid being murdered by the globalist out, even though you need to see that, because they'll just shut our whole channel down if we show it to you. Oh, you can watch violence all day if it furthers them. But they don't want you to see what they're doing. They don't want you to see their crimes. They want those kids to bleed to death in horrible pain, quietly like your kids they're injecting with cancer. They don't want it to be seen out there. You understand? They don't want the crimes to be seen. But you can see it at prisonplanet.tv. Continuing now, Napolitano, this is probably one of the biggest news reports in a long time here, but it'll be reported with a whimper, not a bang, because it's just all too insane. It of course, came out earlier in the year in January that this is really an Iran-Contra deal where cocaine shipped into the U.S. directly on U.S. aircraft and trains and trucks. The Border Patrol and 7 other agencies are told to let it in, and then you and your family get proctology exams on the side of the road run by this master pervert, herself just a minion. Now, I mean, there she is, or whatever it is. The point is that all of this is happening, and it came out when John P. Holdren and the White House Regulations Czar and others started calling for internet censorship and things, to suppress the people, that they knew in the future, as this information began to come out, they weren't going to be able to contain the awakening. But again, I'm pontificating. It also came out that Eric Holder, the Attorney General, had given press conferences. We were the first to point this out 7-8 months ago. Had said they were running Fast and Furious by name and Project Gunrunner, and that they had agents inside Mexico tracking all this. But that was just their cover. They were really arming the drug gangs to knock out the other drug gangs, and that's now come out in federal court. But the point is, she has perjured herself, head of Homeland Security. The head of the Justice Department has perjured herself. They've all lied. And so I thought we would show you a couple clips here now of them from the C-SPAN archives. that our team went in and got. So it's not just news articles where it's being pointed out that they actually gave press conferences about Fast and Furious and admitted they had agents in Mexico, and then later came out and said, like Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing, said, oh, it's ridiculous, that's a conspiracy theory. I mean, of course they perjured themselves. It's come out in major papers and in the federal documents that the government's shipping drugs into the U.S. and guns to the cartels that are allied with them. But the reason they don't want to go there, as I told you 6 months ago, now came out last week, and we covered it here. Issa had to admit, oh, it turns out Bush was involved in this. Of course, and Clinton, and Bush Sr., and Ronald Reagan, Iran-Contra. Back to Vietnam. Our government is run by narcotics trafficking murderers who will take your pension fund and set up a federal police force to bludgeon your brains out to protect a criminal operation. Wake up to them. They're the terrorists. They're the criminals. Get it through your head. They're people murdering kids. They're anti-American. The Vatican's calling for global government right now and global banks running everything. Figure it out. I call her evil and stuff, and it's fun to hate her, but she's just some cutout suit, old crusty, jackboot who they roll out there to lie to you and read off a teleprompter. All right, let's go ahead and go to all her lies. Here they are.
When did you learn of Fast and Furious for the first time?
I learned of it after the death of Agent Terry.
And when did you learn that gun walking was part of Fast and Furious?
I would say sometime between his death and the early spring.
To your knowledge, has anyone ever communicated, or did anyone communicate with Mexican authorities that guns were being allowed to cross our border into Mexico in contravention of their gun laws?
I can only speak for communications that I know of, and I know of no such communications.
Correct, yeah. So someone at the Department of Justice had to know about Fast and Furious for the T3 to ever have been approved, correct?
I just can't comment. I don't know that there was a T3 approved in Fast and Furious.
If there were a T3 approved in Fast and Furious, and there were, the Department of Justice would had to have known about it, correct?
I'm going to leave that for your own investigation, sir. I'm just not going to comment or go beyond what I know, and what I know is that after the death of Agent Terry, the Fast and Furious label became apparent, and we became knowledgeable about it. Obviously, there were problems with the operation. Obviously, it did not succeed, and the Inspector General has that under investigation right now.
So was it the Department of Homeland Security's policy to allow guns to go south into Mexico if they were involved in Fast and Furious? I'm looking for a yes or no.
No.
How is it that you can make a claim that the border is now more secure than ever, and yet the Obama administration purposely allows nearly 2,000 guns to be released, knowing that they're going to go to Mexico with hundreds of people killed by those weapons, 2 dead U.S. agents, and yet you don't even know if we've detected even one of those guns. In fact, on January 14th, you did detect somebody in New Mexico. There were 8 guns found. They didn't even run a trace on them, and you let those guns go into Mexico. I find that absolutely stunning. And for you to have 2 dead agents and to have never had a conversation with Eric Holder about Fast and Furious and about this earth is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable.
How much time has expired?
Do you realize the magnitude? You just saw her at a press conference and on C-SPAN admit they knew about it, then later, years later, deny it. And now I'm going to show you David Ogden, the Deputy Attorney General, David W. Ogden, doing the same thing with her at a press conference. I mean, by the way, it's Infowars.com and Paul Watson doing the research breaking this. The mainstream whore media knows all this. We were the ones pointed out in transcripts from AP 2 years ago that they were admitting all this in speeches when Holder was down here demonizing the Second Amendment, saying we got to ban the Second Amendment, restrict it, and all this stuff because of what's happening in Mexico, and our Operation Gun Runner, Fast and Furious, showed this. Then he goes, I know nothing of a plan. I know nothing of Gun Runner. We don't have agents in Mexico. The point is, these are a bunch of criminal jackasses. I've had it with them. I mean, how much do we put up with from these crooks? And why do they all look like they've had sex change operations? I mean, I can't get into the club unless I'm sorry. I shouldn't even attack them at that level. I just can't handle it anymore. Why are we ruled by chicken necks?